Hello Scorpio, and welcome to your Scorpio January 2021 tarot reading and forecast. It's great to see you, great to see the subscribers back again. We have great fun here, don't we? On our channel, it's different, it's good, and we have a great family and plenty of interesting things to see and to talk about. Now, if you haven't seen your annual reading, which I have published, just check out the playlist, and there'll be a reading which runs for about 15 minutes or 20 minutes or something like that for your overview for the entire year. But now we're going to take 5 cards for January 2021 for Scorpio. Incidentally, if you would like to have a private face-to-face clairvoyant reading with me, then just check out the information that's in the description box below, and you can see how easy it is for that to happen from wherever you live in the world. Now let's get 5 cards, shall we, and see what they are. There's the 3 of Swords, beautiful painting. There is the Star, not a bad side to that. Looks like great things happening there. The King of Discs. Why don't I take something from here? There's the 10 of Cups. Fascinating. There is the Lovers. Well, why don't you come and have a look at the beautiful paintings on these cards? Well, they speak to me, and I'll tell you what they say. Just a reminder that there is an annual 2021 reading which is available on the playlist on my channel. You can find it there, or just search the tube for Scorpio 2021 Nigel, and that will take you to it. By the way, next month's monthly reading will be published on the 6th of January at 2 p.m. US Eastern Time. Fantastic cards here. Look at this beautiful card. This is coming as a message to you, you know. This isn't foretelling of anything, but this is actually something which is going to be going through your mind. Isn't that a beautiful painting? Well, a descending dove, symbol of love. Into the flesh he goes. He carries the arrows of the sun's light, of God's creative seminal light, through the clouds and through the air, down to earth. A wedding, heaven and earth. The little dove, so gentle and pure, falling like an untainted snowflake, just as fleeting and delicate, virginal, melting on the fires of earth, covered by the predatory life forms, pouncing, eating, and consuming, imprisoned in their cells, bone, sinew, muscle, blood, nerves, and flesh. Where did you come from, dove? Where do you want to go back to? Now, this is Saturn, and I have Saturn in the number 3 here as well, mystically and numerologically. But in the card, I have Saturn in the 2nd decan of Libra, that 3rd to the 12th of October. Now, Saturn is exalted in Libra in ordinary astrology, and so we might expect really good things. But there's a double dose of Saturn here, because Saturn is in the number 3, and also Saturn in the card coming into Libra. And the Suit of Swords, well, that always has some difficulty associated with it. Remember also that the Suit of Swords is about thoughts, it is about mind, and it may well be. I think this is asking you to think about sorrow, to think about past patterns that you'll mentally be able to recognize. It may be that you haven't released patterns or events from the past, and ask yourself whether they are currently producing any thoughts of melancholy or sorrow in you. Because it's always possible to have sorrow over past hurts, losses, or separations, which can give rise to melancholy, to fear, unhappiness, and a desire to be whole. I think that this is asking you to make clear, unequivocal decisions. And only in this way can the lost balance, that is the Libra aspect of the card, be rectified. Maybe ask yourself, are there any decisions which are facing you that are difficult to make or to face? But remember, Every problem has its own solution. But I think that there is more that this card wants to say to you. And it's to do with sorrow. And it's to do with your joy. Because your joy is your sorrow unmasked. And the same well from which your laughter rises up, well, it was very often filled with your tears, wasn't it? How else can that be? The deeper that sorrow carves into your being, the more joy you can contain. And isn't the wine glass that holds your wine the very glass that was singed and burned in the glassmaker's factory? And isn't the cello that soothes your spirit the very wood that was hollowed with knives and axes? When you are joyful, look into your heart, and you shall find it is only that which has given you sorrow that has given you joy. When you are sorrowful, look again into your heart, perhaps now, and you shall see that in truth you are weeping for that which has been your delight. Now, some people say that joy is greater than sorrow, and other people say, no, that's not true. Sorrow is the greater, but they're inseparable, really, because they come together. And when you are sitting down at your table, eating with sorrow, remember that in the other room, lying asleep on the couch, is joy ready to wake up and come and burst in upon you again. Well, now that being said, let's see what sits beneath it. And it is this card here, the 10 of Cups. What does this have to say? What are you telling me, 10 of Cups? Gee, look at that red horse there. Do you know, sacred literature appears in different parts of the world and has done so for time immemorial. And all rivers flow into the ocean, you know. But there's one piece of sacred literature, sacred in the Christian tradition, which is a book from the New Testament of the Christian canon called the Book of Revelation. And in chapter 6, verses 3 to 4, I'm pretty sure it says, "When the Lamb opened the second seal, I heard the second living creature say, 'Come!' Then another horse came out, a fiery and red one. Its rider was given power to take peace from the earth and to make men slay each other. To him was given a huge sword." Now we recognize that we possess a divine spark from God inside us. I think we all do that, don't we? But is it also possible that we have a small piece of the abyss of chaos? The 10 of Cups is, in a sense, for me, the wheel of water cups, the ever-changing fortunes of the heart. The red horse is the heart, his thundering hooves, the smooth beat of the turning wheel which pumps the blood, drawing in and pushing out the ancient bloodline. Every one of us rides this horse in our short lives. As stewards of the royal blood, it passes through us and to our children, and from them to their children. Now, the mother and child that are here, you can see them in skeletal form. This is reminiscent of, or I suppose it's meant to be, a homage to a type of art which was prominent in the Renaissance period in Western Europe, in Christian Western Europe, up to about the year 1800, called memento mori, which in Latin means remember you will die. Now that was probably prominent because the church wanted to govern people's lives and say, well, be careful, if you don't do what we tell you, then when you do die, there's going to be trouble. I actually think, though, that this thing here says, of course, remember we will die, but remember to live. remember to live as well. The mother and child are here as a reminder, I suppose, that death comes for each of us, for you and for me, equally, and often without warning. And we should always be prepared for it, and we should live our life to the fullest every day. And we should seize the day, live every day as if it was our last. Do you know, there was a German philosopher called Martin Heidegger who said that authentic life is lived before the horizon of death. What he means by that is that if you were to know for sure that you were going to die at 3 p.m. on the 14th of next month, for sure, then how you lived your life between now and then, I can assure you, it would be very different to how you live today. You wouldn't worry about things that don't matter. You wouldn't worry about past hurts and disappointments. You would seize every moment. You would see every bird and plant and person, everything moving in the environment. You would relish every mouthful of food. You would live every day as if it was your last, because there will be a day when, being the day next month, when it will be your last. Now, this isn't going to be your last, of course. I'm just using it as an example. But love, joy, relationships, emotions, peace, interconnectedness, and their opposites of war and loss, grief, sadness, suffering, separation, they're all part of the wheel of water and make up the whole spectrum of the experience of being alive. This is the Lord of perfected success. It is Mars ruling the third decan of Pisces, the 9th to the 19th of March. Now Mars can be disruptive, and it can conflict with the peaceful Pisces. So just bear that in mind. But it's talking about great satisfaction and fulfillment here. It's talking about emotional stability. Can even refer to someone finding what they think is their dream home. Do you know? There is great happiness with you here, but some things which have made you happy, I think there could be a fleeting happiness associated with them, and I think that they might relate to consumer goods. For example, you may think, I must have that pair of shoes. I must have that handbag. I must have that cell phone. I must have that video game. That's going to bring me happiness. Well, I think what could happen here is that there's the possibility that there is something which has given you happiness. You stop becoming happy with it. It's as if you get bored and want to move on to the next thing. Now, in a relationship setting, it can relate to the loss of pleasure that the relationship brings. And therefore, you either have to alter the dynamic of the relationship or move away from it. Now, I never counsel people to move away from things. I think that relationships all have a purpose. Unless, of course, it's an unhappy relationship. But I'm talking about happy relationships here. And if you can imagine a bucket, and remember we're in the soot of water, and that emotional happiness is water being filled into the bucket, well, the bucket can become full. And then no matter how much extra emotion or experience or energy is poured into it, it doesn't make any difference. It just spills over the side. I think what this is asking you to do is to reconfigure an environment, to make the bucket bigger so that extra emotion can come in and that you can continue to be fulfilled continuously by the situation. I think there's also the energy here for you to, and in particular in relation to relationships, to let things develop by themselves, but making those necessary adjustments where required, because everything will come to you at the right moment. Relax, close your eyes and breathe deeply and calmly. Let a picture arise in you which shows you in a state of complete fulfillment. And repeat this exercise often and connect with this feeling more and more with your reality. There's a great deal of emotional passion and vitality associated with this. That's that Mars aspect coming in here. And Pisces, of course, is about it's a very spiritual, a very emotional sign. And say to yourself, life now gives me all that I need to be happy. And happy you are going to be. Let's have a look at her, the star, the daughter of the firmament. Let's have a look at her. Here she is. Oh, my darling, what do you have to tell me? What do you have to tell me? What do you have to say to me today? Well, this is Saturn again, this time ruling Aquarius, with Neptune exalted. I'm getting that because of the placement of these cards here. So we have Saturn in Aquarius with Neptune exalted. Well, Aquarius is all about the individual and uniqueness, and yet it has an overall humanitarian outlook, doesn't it? Well, the star, the daughter of the firmament, she shares these qualities, and she's trying to remind you, she's come here to remind you about the divinity and uniqueness within you, and encouraging you to be a conduit for bringing down your highest potential. This is about self-recognition, clear vision that you'll have, and a trust in yourself, hope, happiness, opportunities, optimism. That's all coming through here. You'll start to increase your levels of self-confidence and self-esteem. And I think it's probably also there'll be a desire to bring in something new, into your life. This is a time when you are going to feel, because this was a message here, but you are going to feel fulfilled, as this was saying, and inspired by life. And it's a reminder for you to follow your dreams and those things which give you the most inspiration. And she's also saying to be open to love and trust creation and what it brings. And encouragement is now being given to you by her that, although I think you have had some testing times in the past, now is the time to move forward with renewed hope and live an inspired life in which you can express yourself fully. Every woman and every man is a star. Let your star rise, but stay in contact with the earth. Trust your environment and find ways to let others share in it. You will be tested and recognized by the fruit you bear. Are you totally fulfilled in your present area of work? Check to see if you are doing everything possible to bring your ideas to fruition. And say to yourself, I am a radiant light being. I am a star that walks upon a bigger star. I see what can be of benefit to people around me, and my creative powers of imagination and my connection to all-encompassing consciousness show me the way to realize my ideas. Well, let's go to the children of the voice divine, the oracle of the mighty gods, otherwise known here as the lovers. Let's see what we have here. Mercury here. Mercury ruling a Gemini with dragon's head. You know, that north node of the moon in astrology, particularly in Vedic astrology. That is exalted. Now, there's the need for you to look at all angles before making quite a major decision, I think. Is it a major decision? No. It's hard to say. I do see you looking at all angles of something before making a decision at this time. I think you could also well be a mediator or a peacemaker. I think people are going to come to you to see if you can sort out their problems. But what you need to make sure is that you don't end up being, brought into some triangle. And then you'll just end up with two enemies. And you know what I mean? So it's a time to look at harmony in relationships. Well, actually, I do think there is a major life choice on the direction ahead of you. Now, this may not necessarily seem to be that way at first, but I think when you look back at this period, you're going to, in the future, look back and you're going to say, do you know what? That's when that happened. And that's probably that reference that I'm thinking here to this need to look at all angles before making a decision. So there is actually what's going to, in hindsight, is going to turn out to have been a major decision that's here. And I think that there could well be a mutual sexual attraction going on here and a sexual connection. But again, this is major arcana, so it's not a one-night stand. But there's a great degree of love and attraction. I've got to tell you, people are going to put your seatbelt on, because people are going to find you very physically attractive during this period, and you can do with that what you will. There's also about the union of opposites here, and I also think becoming conscious of things through a relationship, choices, partnership is what I'm getting here. This sort of feeling of a crossroads, maybe going into a particular project or a business or some structure with somebody else is what I get. Some people could find that they fall in love, and even something could end up in being quite a committed relationship here. Now, it's also got to be said here that you may choose to know something. You may choose to find out something. You may choose to know something. And when you do, understand this: you can't unsee it. You can't unlearn it. It's like the choice to leave the Garden of Eden could well be a turning point here. I think you'll have an extraordinary gift in dealing with people of all ages. You'll have an acute understanding of opposites, of paradoxes, polarity. There is a relationship here. There's a focus on personal development and growth, and you'll be very committed to bringing things together. Now, I don't know if you're a therapist, but you could be a therapist, because this is a time when you are going to have a very good insight into what is going on in other people's headspace. Maybe relationships are an issue. It's a time for expanding and deepening some. And it is also the time for pruning off others. Be careful of triangular relationships, though. Be careful of triangular relationships unless you're comfortable to walk that line. And this can very often be, well, there's the reconciliation of opposites going here, so I do see a lot of polarity here. So I see time for marriages, but I also see the time for separation is sadly what is going to happen. Hopefully not to you. Well, then that takes us finally, yes it is finally, to the Lord of the wild and fertile land. Now, here he is, looks like sort of Pan figure, doesn't he really, eating an apple. He's in the environment here. Now, I tell you, Virgo is going to be very important to you here, and Leo is going to be very important. I get that real feeling of people born between about the 13th of August to the 12th of September, that period here. He is, as a king, he's fire, he's in the suit of earth. Now, they're friendly, those elements, but they're passive, and this is someone who doesn't have a high level of activity that's associated with them compared to some of the other kings in the deck here, such as wands and cups and swords, that sometimes in some respects just can be mental, deranged. But he is a man. They are gender fluid, these cards, so it could be a woman, but I'll refer to him as a man of maybe with a connection with land in some respect, maybe in the farms, but could have a connection with sales or developing projects, construction. Someone who's a hard worker, clever, and someone who's very patient. I think that this is about invoking the spirits of the earth for you for plentiful times. A great deal of he's somebody who is not really all that comfortable in his head, and what he does is he uses his work ethic to get things done here, I think. The thing with him is that he's saying to you that this isn't a time to over-intellectualize things. Rather, use experience and judgment, go with the flow, don't create any revolutions during this month, at least. And you can wait for later on. But be instinctive and use your work ethic, because they're going to bring good results for you over the longer term. Now, there's no air present in here, so he's not an intellectual, and he uses work ethic to get things done. Actually, this guy, to be honest, he's a bit of a workaholic. He doesn't have much interest in anything outside of Earth, but it speaks that you could well have, outside of work rather, but it speaks that you could well have a real connection to the Earth. Like, you may actually find nature to be quite rejuvenating, I think, to you. Now is the time for you to set your abilities to work in service of some kind. You may think that the tasks before you are large and demand the use of all of your powers, but if you make the effort, the harvest is going to reward you richly. Really is, you know. And maybe ask yourself this: are there any tasks that you are kind of choosing to avoid in your life? Remember, whenever things seem to be too much trouble for you, concentrate on the positive results of your actions for you and for other people. Your internal learning and growing process is the most important outcome, more important than that which you achieve by your actions. Say this to yourself: with every task that comes my way comes also the energy needed to complete it. And you'll have plenty of energy, Scorpio. Great cards, good job. That's the way it is for you this month. Well, I loved spending that time with you then. What a great month it looks like it's going to be for you. And don't you deserve it? You certainly do. Of anybody, you deserve the good things that are coming into your life. Now remember this one thing always, and it is this: that you are a legend. And I look forward to seeing you again next month. Until then, it's bye for now.